today I'm going to talk to you guys about Lin Bu and the plum box. This is one of my favorites because unlike other pieces of art, we don't have to make a ton of assumptions about this work. There's not a ton of debate because there is a poem on the bottom that tells us a lot about the work, as well as the poet that actually wrote the poem on the bottom. We have a lot known about his life, so we can also safely assume what the poem's talking about. So this is the red box with the red plum, wife, crane, and sun. So the poet that actually did this, Lin Bu, like I mentioned, there is a funny kind of joke around a poem that was written, not a super serious poem, where he confused his red plum tree, or his plum tree, with his wife, and he confused his cranes with his son, because he was known for being a bit of a hermit, and at that time being a hermit was a great thing because it spread a lot of these Confucianist ideas about naturalism and about less materialism and all these other things. So he was a bit of a hermit, and if there's a running joke about him confusing that with a wife and a son, because he did not have a wife and a son. He lived alone. So here's a larger look at the box here of one open and one closed from the sides. We can get an idea of that three-dimensionality. So these were gift boxes, and I'm going to move on to this next photo for us here. These gift boxes, this is not the only type of lacquer item that we see that's like this type of gift box. This is another one, except this one doesn't have a poem, so we have to kind of assume what it's about, and we really don't have a lot of assumptions going off the top here. It seems like pretty standard decoration, and we're not really entirely sure about the specifics, though this box is said to be given as, or suspected to be given as, a Chinese Lunar New Year object, so as a gift. Like our one before, we don't have a picture of that one open, but like the box that we're looking at, it also did open, and it was suspected that you would put a gift inside, and then they would also be able to keep the box as a gift. Now the difference here is that this one that I just showed you guys isn't part of the Palace Museum, whereas the one that we're looking at today is part of the Palace Museum, so that associates that this is a box of really, really high regard, and that part of the imperial family did want to give this to people. So here is a monumental painting of Lin Bu. Now, Lin Bu passed away 1028, so this was painted after his death, or drawn up after his death, and it's of him walking down a path with some rocks and a tree and an inscription. I couldn't quite find the translation of the inscription, so please forgive me on that. But it shows this kind of monumental lifestyle that he lived. He's known for being a recluse, he's known for spending a lot of time by himself, and here he is walking down a path by himself, seemingly looking at nature. He's not occupying himself with a book, so we can get a lot of ideals from this, these Confucianist ideas that might not even have been called Confucianism at the time that Lin Bu was alive, but certainly now we recognize it as that. A lot of these cultural ideas of just taking time to view that monumentalism of your small impact on the world and the huge world around you. So here's the inscription on the bottom. Doesn't look beautiful. Whoever did this has great calligraphy. And we see this inscription, but we also see in this bottom left here, this tiny little box, little insignia, and we'll talk about that in a second. So here's the translation of this poem. Now this is from the Palace Museum website. This poem's a little bit different as far as the translation here. I don't know if I like this translation as much, but it is the more reputable one. The pine is covered by a curved railing, and the lonely pavilion is quiet and beautiful. The stile knocks on the bamboo leaves, and the spring letter delivers plum blossoms. How can the crane cook tea to avoid it? And the piano is not hung on the wall. There are children's and twos, and I don't recognize it. And then we suspect that it's the Lin family. May have either been that who was gifted to, and that might actually be part of that smaller inscription where we also see that imperial inscription. So we're not actually sure if that's, at least I don't speak or be able to read Chinese, so I'm not entirely sure if that's part of it. But we definitely know that imperial inscription is not part of the poem, but that's the direct translation of what's on the box. And that is the bottom of the box. So it looks like this, and as we can see on the bottom, we have these kind of little rows of lacquer here. And the significance of this poem, if we go back, so here we kind of had to guess, but here we can kind of get a look at this box, this red box where we have a crane down here on the bottom, and we have all these trees around, which I guess we could suspect are plum trees, but we really, really touch on this lonely pavilion. So this pavilion isn't lonely, there's plenty of people in it, and the spring letter delivers these plum blossoms. So we have this monumental look here at all these trees and all these people. We get a whole view of a scene here, which is very, very similar to a lot of monumental art that we see, but this one's kind of condensed onto this box. So we have several figures in here, several tending to the nature around them, and two almost seem to be meditating or doing some sort of meditative work there. So we get this idea of meditation, its importance, as well as this monumentalism within this small box that you're planning to gift to somebody. So we get this idea that they are sharing these ideas with other people, that they're hoping peace and prosperity on other people, and that they're encouraging and reinforcing these cultural and philosophy type ideas onto other people through this gift. So this really reinforces that not only is these cultural ideas going through like just speaking to other people and through art, but it's also going through literature, and we see that binding of literature and art in this piece here, so we can understand that this is something that's impacting all of Chinese art, that this monumental Confucius idea is just impacting everything, and we're able to actually link it all together. So that shows us the importance of it in the culture, and it helps us understand the art of the time a lot better, because we're not really guessing here. We have this poem to go off of. Thank you. I really, really love this piece. I've definitely gone a little bit over time with this one. I could talk about this piece for a while because it really is beautiful to look at. Thank you.